Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome back to my channel. Over the weekend, I finally had the chance to watch the #1 anime movie on Netflix. It's called Maboroshi, and it was actually released, I think, in January. I saw this thing promoted everywhere. Like, literally every single time I opened Netflix, I would see Maboroshi. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, I'm interested. I put it on my list and stuff like that, and I just haven't had the chance to watch it until now. So over the weekend, I took the time to watch Maboroshi, and it's like a 2-hour long anime film created by MAPPA, and it's directed by Mari Okada, who also worked on an anime film called Makuya, which was absolutely out of this world beautiful. It just had so many feels. Like, go watch that anime movie because that was brilliant. I loved Makuya. Knowing that Mari Okada worked on Maboroshi, I was like, okay, I really, really want to watch this. I mean, when you see like a director or somebody or like a studio or a voice actor or something work on an anime film or anime series, you're like, hey, I want to check it out because I like their works and stuff like that. So seeing her name, I was like, okay, this is going to be emotional. It's going to look beautiful. It's going to be good stuff. And that's why I put Maboroshi on my list. And that's why I finally sat down to watch it. Took me a while, but I finally had a chance to watch it. And let me tell you, Mari Okada's works usually instill like a lot of feelings in your soul as you watch them, especially Makuya. That was an emotional feels fest. It really truly was. And you know what? Maboroshi was also something that you're going to feel a lot of things towards. And a lot of those feelings are of confusion. It was very, very confusing at times. So this anime film is a movie that you really, really need to pay attention to. This is not something that you just turn on and you're like, okay, I could do my chores in the background or whatever and still follow the story. No, Maboroshi is a story that you need to pay attention to. And honestly, even if you pay attention to it, you might still feel lost by the end of the movie. So honestly, it's one of those movies. Also, I felt like this film, based on things that I've seen on the internet, is very divisive in terms of how people feel about it. You're either really, really gonna love it, or you're gonna feel confused and you're not gonna like it that much. So it's kind of polarizing in that aspect because, you have one side that's like raving over it, and then the other side that's just like, what? Like, what even was this? And I have to admit, I don't know where I stand when it comes to this movie, if I'm on that side or this side. Like, honestly, I feel like I might be kind of in the middle just because this movie was a little tricky. It really was. So why don't we start talking about it? I will not include any crazy spoilers, so if you haven't seen this movie yet, don't feel scared. I'm not gonna spoil the film, but I will be telling you my overall thoughts about Maboroshi. So let's get started. Maboroshi is a film that is kind of confusing in the sense because I don't really know what it wants to be. I don't know if it wants to be a sci-fi anime movie or if it wants to be like a coming of age or I don't know, like a drama. I have no idea what it wants to be. I feel like its identity is kind of all over the place at times because I don't know where it wants to go. Maboroshi is about this guy named Masamune, and Masamune lives in a town that is kind of stuck in time. And that's kind of where the sci-fi element comes in, right? This town is stuck in time. They kind of like live in a bubble. You can't leave the town. You can't enter the town. This town is stuck in time. It is always winter. And because of this like strange time thing that's going on, like their town has these regulations that you can't change anything. You can't drastically change anything in this town because of the fact that it's stuck in time. And so it's kind of weird because when you watch it, it seems like they're living their daily lives like nothing. And it seems like there's still like things going on. They're still functioning and everything. So at times when I was watching this, I was like, but it seems like everything is still working as normal, I guess, sort of in a way. Like not everything, but it seemed like daily life was kind of moving along despite the fact that it being stuck in time, stuck in this time period or whatever. So that was one thing that already kind of confused me, this aspect of this town being stuck in this time and them kind of worshiping this like sacred machine because of this like explosion that happened in a steel factory. And so they worship this sacred machine and they have to please the machine so that they could still live on in this little time bubble thing. I have no idea. It was kind of confusing in that religious aspect. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it wanted to go that direction or if it wanted to go the more sci-fi. Like, honestly, I have no idea. That's where I started getting confused with this like religious, like, I don't want to say worshiping because they weren't exactly worshiping it, but like, I don't know. It just kind of, it was weird. Okay. So basically you have like this sacred machine, and then you also have this girl that lives in this steel factory. Masamune ends up like, at first he hates this girl in his class, and he's like, oh, you know, Mutsumi, I hate her. I don't have any feelings towards her. And then one day he sees something, and she kind of like convinces him to go to the steel factory with her. As he goes to the steel factory with her, he notices that there's a girl there. She's like a feral child, and she kind of like, she's very, very feral. She doesn't really have any vocabulary. She can't really speak too well, and she acts like a little bit of like an animal in a way. She's like a wolf child, except this wasn't wolf children. You know, I liked the wolf children more than I liked this girl, Itsumi. She has like these animalistic characteristics because she's a feral child. She can't really speak too much and everything, and she lives in the factory. There's a mystery, and we are eventually told why she's there and who exactly she is, but for the movie's sake, we call her Itsumi and Mutsumi. So Mutsumi, Itsumi, and Masamune ends up actually coming up like with this system where they all take care of, you know, they both take care of Itsumi, and so they become like this kind of like makeshift family. And you're like, okay, why has it become Masamune's responsibility to take care of this girl? Is it just curiosity? What is it? Like, why is he listening to Mutsumi? And it's just really, really weird. As the mystery unravels, like I said, we eventually figure out who exactly she is, why she's being kept captive there, like what's going on. We end up discovering all of these reasons, and that's when the relationships of the characters eventually change. So this movie, Maboroshi, is classified as a romance as well. Like I said, there's a lot of genres in this movie. And the thing is, this is where I felt like there was some kind of disconnect. Eventually, Masamune ends up having feelings towards Mutsumi, and I found it kind of weird. I felt it kind of like really rushed and sudden. He went from hating this girl to like being in love with her. I'm like, I don't know how did that happen? It makes no sense. And because of that, that's why I really didn't care for their relationship at all, because I felt like it came out of thin air. I felt like it wasn't developed enough, and it just was very, very weird in my opinion. There's also another romance option that kind of happens in this movie. I don't want to say it because I feel like it's kind of spoiler territory, but it was weird, okay? It was weird. I feel like the characters weren't fleshed out enough to the point where I cared about them or, you know, was really invested in them. I didn't feel like that towards any of them, especially Mutsumi. I wanted to like her, especially since Masamune eventually ends up caring for her and liking her a lot. But I didn't feel that attachment towards her at all, which was kind of disappointing because you want to be invested in the main couple and just the main characters in general. And I absolutely did not feel like that towards any of the characters. I'm sorry. But this anime movie is gorgeous. As you would expect, MAPPA has been on fire with animation. Like, they know what they're doing, and then Mari Okada's direction and everything. This film was beautiful. If you look at any of these like screenshots, you can see the beauty in this anime film. So the visuals are definitely top notch. I also like the voice acting. Our main character, Masamune, is voiced by the same guy who does Itadori from Jujutsu Kaisen. So immediately when I heard his voice, I was like, I know that guy. I know that voice. So there's some really, really well-known like voice actors in Maboroshi. There's beautiful visuals and complex storylines, but this is a movie that is very, very complicated in my opinion. It's complex, and you know, imagine living in a town where you can't leave and things just don't ever change drastically. We have a sacred machine, but also this smoke wolf thing that like takes people away when there's strong emotions being felt. It's crazy. And I like the smoke wolf thing. That was cool. But the sacred machine thing kind of confused me. I felt like there maybe should have been one or the other because it just, I don't feel like it needed both. I feel like it kind of could have just used that wolf thing and that would have been cool enough. But having both of them and this crazy fanatical father or uncle, whoever he was, like there were aspects of this movie that were a little confusing to me, and I was really paying attention. So knowing that I was fully paying attention and I was still confused, I know that other people might feel confused towards it as well. And I would, maybe this is a movie that you have to watch 2 times to finally, like really understand everything that's happening. But I still feel like there are still like some open-ended questions that were like left unanswered, unfortunately. I'm still like a little confused. So I feel like the overall idea of Maboroshi was very smart and very ambitious, but I feel like this is something that needed more time to develop. This is something that might have been better as like a 2-part anime film, like part 1 and part 2, just so that it could really flesh out the whole town and the problem and the relationships. I feel like it might have needed more time. It's hard because it was already a longer anime film to begin with 2 hours, but I feel like it needed more to be fleshed out. Maybe as a series this would have worked out better. Maybe as a 2-part anime film this would have been better. But I feel like it was kind of rushed at parts. Things weren't fully developed. There were still many questions left unanswered. And while it was visually stunning and the acting was great and, the direction and everything was great and the soundtrack, I loved all the technical aspects of it, I was still left wanting more. While I did enjoy it, it wasn't my favorite anime film. And honestly, I still prefer Makuya. Makuya is definitely, that one you will feel a lot. I'm excited to see more anime films on Netflix, especially something as big of a scale as Maboroshi. A 2-hour anime film is something that doesn't happen too often to begin with, but then to be exclusive to Netflix is another thing. So like, I'm looking forward to seeing more anime films on Netflix, especially if it's going to be as beautiful and as like intricate, I guess you could say, as Maboroshi. So I'm looking forward to more, and I will hope that the next anime film is, I don't know, fleshed out more than Maboroshi was, because I had a lot of hopes for it, and while I still enjoyed it, it still fell a little bit short in my opinion. So if you've checked out Maboroshi, let me know in the comment section. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle like me? Let me know, because I am curious. I definitely have a lot of anime movies to watch though. So if you have any anime movie recommendations that you want to hear about or hear my thoughts about, feel free to comment below. I love reading your comments. It makes me happy. Anyway, thank you all for watching. It's cool, so I appreciate it. Feel free to like, share, comment, or subscribe if you like this video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.